I was a career woman. I was working for a corporation. We'd been married, 10 years. I'm like, no, we don't need any kids. I'm cool now. And he said, no, you need a kid. I said, no, I don't. And he said, well, I made an appointment with the adoption agency, so we'll just go to the appointment. And next thing you know, we have a little boy. And that next year, Ted died. And it was almost like he had given me this gift to keep me going, because if I had not had to take responsibility for Kyle, I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I would have died or done anything, like commit suicide. But I think I would have just wasted away. So that little boy kept me alive. Kyle's birth father had thrown him against a wall at 3 months of age. So he had a slight flat spot at the back of his head, and used to talk about how his brain sometimes didn't function right. I remember at 8 him saying to me, I wish I had something wrong with my leg or a scar on my face so that people could see that I wasn't okay. And he said, but I talk good, I look good, and he was in tears. He said, people just don't understand. And he struggled with this all his life, but he was an extremely bright young man. When he was 3 years old, I had a dream one night, and God said to me, you won't have him forever. And I said, what? And he said, you won't have him forever. And I thought, yeah, right, that's not happening. And so I went through my life thinking about it for a while, and then after a while it just faded. And the week before he died, I was sitting at work, and I got this chill, and I said out loud, he's 32 years old, 32 years old, and he's still here. And my coworker looked at me and she said, what did you just say? And I said, nothing. And she said, are you talking about Kyle? I said, mm-mm. And a week later, he was dead. I'm sitting on the couch, just turning the TV on, the doorbell rings, and there's a police officer. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm in a new neighborhood. I either forgot to pull the trash cans in, or I forgot to match the home association rules. I'm like, oh wow, what is it? And he looks at me and he asked me my name, and I said, Yvette Woelfel. And he said, do you know anyone in Florida? And I said, yeah, I know a lot of people in Florida. He said, do you know any young men in Florida? I said, yeah, I have a son in Florida. And he says, can you tell me his name? I said, Kyle Woelfel. I regret to inform you that your child is dead. And I looked at him and I said, no, you're wrong. My son's fine. And he said, no. And I said, what happened? He said, evidently he shot himself. I will never forget the sound I made. It was so deep. And so I started telling everybody, and people were like, well, you want to tell him that he committed suicide? I said, I'm going to tell everybody. I said, I'm not ashamed of him. I'm not ashamed of what he did. And I'm not going to turn around and not pass this on in case somebody else out there is experiencing the same thing and doesn't know what to do about it. And it was amazing the number of people who were talking to me about, I'm worried about my teenage son, or I don't know what to do about my daughter, or I just went through the same thing. There's got to be a community around it. And so that was part of getting through it. But the other part of getting through it was 6 months afterwards, I was at rock bottom. I wasn't going to make it. And I remember being in bed, waking up, going, I can't do this anymore. I said, Lord, I'm not going to kill myself, but you can take me. You can take me right now. I can't handle this. Well, God talks to me, and I listen. And this voice said to me, I told you you would not have him forever. And I'd forgotten. And I went, what? I told you you would not have him forever back in 1983. I told you this. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I'm not ready. I wasn't ready for this. And he said, Kyle was my gift to you. He said, Kyle didn't belong to you. Kyle belongs to me. And I thought, yeah, but Lord. And before I could finish the sentence, he said, would you rather I had not given you the gift at all? That took me to my knees. So when I thought back on it, and I thought, well, what about the laughter? What about the struggles? What about the tears? What about the hugs? What about all of it? I would not have traded it, not one bit. Because I do realize I would not be the person I am without those 30 years of having that little boy. He was a beautiful, beautiful person. And everybody that was touched by him is better for it. So why he took his life, nobody will ever know. What he was thinking at that time, nobody will ever know. It's not the gun. It's not going to do anything. You have to put the bullets in the gun. You have to pull the trigger. You have to have so many pounds of pressure in order for anything to happen with that gun. My guns have been sitting in the same place for the last 20 years, and they have not moved. So what does that say about us as a society? What does it say that all the things that my son endured, all the things that he went through, that he finally figured there's no hope, there's no more. And this was his recourse. How did we miss the signs? How did I miss the signs? I don't feel guilty about missing the signs because I was a good mother. This is the foundation of my life, is that we don't belong to each other. We belong to God. And when we say to each other that we believe in God and we want to turn around and characterize what God can do and what he can't do, that's not believing in God. That's believing in us. And I had to have a big God because I couldn't do it by myself. I'm a better person for everything that I've gone through. I was a better person after my husband died, and that just about killed me. And I'm definitely a better person for having had that boy in my life.